Alana POV. As soon as I returned home from my impromptu meeting with the rogues, my mum didn't waste any time getting snippy with me about leaving after she told me not to. Of course, that only ticked me off to the point that I didn't want to be anywhere near her or anybody else in the jungle pack. After engaging in a yelling match with my mum, I stalked to my bedroom and slammed the door. Then I started yelling obscenities about everybody there. It wasn't long before Lance put his 2 cents in again, and that made me feel even more enraged. I did hesitate to give him an earful about himself, then I proceeded to pack a duffel bag with a few of my favorite outfits. I also added my most expensive jewelry and any weapons I had managed to get my hands on over the past few months. After that, I changed into a pair of hot pink booty shorts and a black sports bra. I opted to wear my favorite workout clothes, so if anybody saw me walking with my duffel bag, they would automatically assume that I was heading to the gym. When I opened my bedroom door, I listened for any sign of activity in the living room or kitchen and heard absolutely nothing. Without hesitation, I tiptoed down the hall and peeked around the corner. Since there wasn't anybody in sight, I snuck out of our living quarters again. While making my way through the castle, I overheard several different conversations about Tamara giving birth to the cubs during the overnight hours. With excitement bubbling within me, I quickly made my way through the castle while making sure not to make eye contact with anybody. As soon as I reached the porch, I made a mad dash down the steps and across the massive lawn. Then I ran through the rainforest as fast as I could in my human form. I had one destination in mind, and I couldn't wait to get there and find the handsome rogue who I had recently struck a deal with. I was eager to let him know that the cubs had arrived. Unfortunately, there was no way I would be able to get close to them right away, but it wouldn't stop me from trying once things settled down a little. When I reached the border, I went ahead and ran across it. Then I hid in the middle of a cluster of bushes while I waited for my favorite rogue to make an appearance. I was relieved when I didn't have to wait too long. It couldn't have been a full hour when I spotted my handsome rogue in his wolf form. Right away, I crawled out of the bushes, leaving my duffel bag hidden there. Then I stood up and brushed the dirt and leaves off of me. After running my fingers through my hair to straighten it out, I hollered, "Hey, I have come with exciting news." Instantly, his head snapped in my direction. Even in his wolf form, I could see recognition flash in his eyes before they darkened with lust. A second later, he sprinted toward me with 2 other rogues, following right behind him. As soon as he was standing in front of me, he shifted into his human form. Then he grabbed my hips and pulled me against him. A second later, he dipped his head down to my ear and curiously asked, "Tell me, gorgeous, what would this exciting news be?" "The cubs have arrived. I'll be able to take them once things calm down a little." I gushed with excitement. "Wonderful. Until then, what are your plans?" He inquired with his eyes darkening even more. "I don't know, you tell me," I coyly replied while batting my thick eyelashes at him. He slowly licked his lips while gazing into my eyes. Then he glanced at my lips for just a second before smashing his lips on top of them. Without hesitation, I returned the heated kiss with just as much urgency, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. When he finally pulled his lips away from mine several minutes later, I could feel moisture pooling between my thighs, and I wasn't sure what to think about that. All I knew was that there was a fire burning inside of me, and I needed something, but I didn't know what. With his lips almost touching mine, the gorgeous rogue mumbled, "Come back to my tent with me, and I'll take care of this arousal you are feeling." As if in a trance, I breathed out, "Okay," earning a husky chuckle from the cute rogue. After that, he scooped me up in his arms, like I was ragdoll. Then he carried me through the forest until we reached what appeared to be a colony of rogues. There were tents set up all over the place, but my rogue had his eyes set on one specific tent, and he didn't waste any time carrying me over to it. King Silas POV. Did you hear about the rogue werewolves planning an attack on the werecats? Beta Jace asked with amusement shining in his neon yellow eyes. I have not, but I would love to hear more, I replied with a smirk forming on my face. Jace enthusiastically gave me all the details leading up to the rogues planning the attack. Apparently, the werecats joined forces with werewolves and hybrids to seize control of a free territory, and the rogues wanted to get payback. In addition to that, one of the werecats accepted a hybrid werewolf as their mate, and they were expecting their offspring to be born any day. The rogues were concerned about the cubs being too powerful because of them being triple hybrids, and they wanted to kill the cubs. I couldn't blame them for being concerned about it. Nobody knew for sure what those cubs would end up being capable of. All I knew was that I liked the thought of the rogues taking care of my light work for me. 3 years after the slaying of Queen Meredith, I continued to seek vengeance against the entire species. When Jace was finished telling me everything, I asked him to keep me informed on the situation, in case the rogues needed our assistance to help take them down. Normally, I wouldn't join forces with any rogues, but I would make an exception if it meant killing a bunch of worthless werecats. Not long after Jace left my office, my favorite 𝘽𝙬𝙚 came sauntering into my office wearing the sexiest red tube dress that perfectly complemented her curvy body. Her red high heels matched the dress and made her already long legs look absolutely phenomenal. I was sitting in my usual spot, behind the desk, and Anita didn't waste any time walking over to my side of the desk. Then she sat on the edge of it, while seductively asking, "Does my king need me to satisfy his needs today?" She trailed the toe of her high heel up the inside of my right thigh. As soon as her foot reached my groin, I slid my hand under her leg and lifted it up, then I left a trail of wet kisses all the way up that sexy leg of hers. When I reached her upper thigh, I used my fingers to move the string of her thong. Then I glanced up to see her lust-filled violet eyes staring down at me. I flashed a sexy smirk her way, then I huskily mumbled, "I'm gonna enjoy the taste of your juicy peach. Then I'm gonna bend you over this desk and make you scream my name." Anita licked her lips as she rubbed the palms of her hands down the front of her chest and made her dress go down in the process. When she reached her breasts, Anita started massaging them while seductively murmuring, "Make me scream, King Silas." I didn't waste any time diving into that delicious pee of hers. I licked, sucked, and nibbled for at least 30 minutes, while Anita fisted my hair and moaned in pleasure. After the second time of making Anita squirt her sweet juices into my mouth, I stood up and pulled the sexy 𝘽𝙬𝙚 to her feet. Then I smashed my lips against hers for a rough kiss. As soon as I tore my lips from hers, I spun Anita around and forcefully bent her over my desk. Then I rammed my massive, throbbing erection deep into her core. Anita instantly moaned in response to the abrupt intrusion, and that fueled my inner beast. I gave it to her good and hard, making the desk slowly move across my office floor. The entire time, Anita was either moaning in pleasure or begging for me to give it to her deeper and harder. That's why Anita was my favorite. She satisfied my bear's primal needs as well as my personal needs. Of course, she would never satisfy my needs like Meredith had. Nobody would be able to fully satisfy me like she did, but that didn't mean I couldn't enjoy some pleasure and satisfaction when I needed it. By the time I shot my seed into Anita, it had been almost 2 hours, and my desk had moved over 3/4 of the way across my office, with everything that was on it now scattered all over the floor. We were both covered in sweat from head to toe, and Anita had screamed my name, in the throes of ecstasy, at least 6 times. "Thanks for the good time," I mumbled against her neck before pulling my length out of her. Then I walked back to where my pants were laying on the floor. As I pulled them on, Anita peppily remarked, "You're welcome, my handsome king." Then she walked out of my office while making sure to sway her hips and give me a great view of her cute butt. I shook my head at her retreating form as I fastened my buckle. Then I walked over to my desk and pulled it back to its normal spot. After that, I picked everything up from the floor and put it back in its usual place. Then I left my office and headed back to my personal chambers so I could get cleaned up before dinner.